Welcome to another edition of the Food Systems Podcast, brought to you by the Forum for the Future of Agriculture. My name is Mark Titterington, and today we're talking about the future of agriculture in Ukraine. And I'm delighted to be joined by Alex Lissitsa, the president of the Ukrainian Club of Agribusinesses. Alex, great to have you with us. I know we had a really good roundtable discussion yesterday in Brussels. And I wonder if I might start by asking you, just your assessment of where Ukrainian agriculture is today and some of the challenges that you shared with us yesterday that farmers are facing, obviously, in this very difficult time.
Hi, Mark. Nice to be with you today on that podcast. We have had a quite good discussion yesterday, and there were a lot of topics discussed which are currently also on the agenda in Ukraine. Ukraine is in a war, and before the war, Ukrainian agriculture was a kind of locomotive for the national economy with absolutely enormous numbers of profitability, export, and all other stuff. Right now, we do face a lot of problems in Ukraine beside the war. Now, I would start with the first one, probably, which is currently the biggest one, is availability of human capital. Unfortunately, a lot of people are fighting right now on the front line. And in some regions where I do work right now in the North Ukraine, there are practically no people. So we have to adjust our technologies. We have to adjust our technical equipment. The second biggest problem is availability of financial resources. The Ukrainian banks provide only limited resources to the Ukrainian farmers as working capital. I don't speak about capex. The foreign banks are not very active right now in Ukraine, so means that a lot of businesses in agriculture, especially the small and medium-sized farmers, they will probably next year give up because not because of low profitability of the business and not available financial resources. Why we have so low profitability? Because of very high logistic costs. If you look on the prices globally, if we would deliver, for example, winter wheat from Ukraine to Spain, the price in Spain will be 240 euros per ton. Unfortunately, the farmer in Ukraine will get only 90 euros per ton. So 150 euros per ton will be spent for different types of logistics, insurances, risk covering instruments, etc. And that is actually the biggest problem for everybody. And if you look on the numbers, what we have right now in terms of planting numbers of winter crops in Ukraine, there are like 4 million hectares on the winter crops, and that's definitely much more low than we have had before the war. So Ukraine is going to disappear over next years from the global wheat market because of lack of working capital, because lack of financial resources for purchasing of needed inputs, lack of human capital, and very high logistic costs.
Alex, we touched on it yesterday a little bit in our discussion, but how do we get that end price for Ukrainian farmers up so that they're getting more of a share of what the I suppose the global price actually is, and they're rewarded for what they're doing? Because that clearly seems to be a challenge.
So that's a challenge, definitely, and I think we have to work together with European partners, because most of the problems, unfortunately, are coming from our neighbor partners and countries like Poland, Hungary, and Slovakia, because all the chaos we see right now on the border between Ukraine and Poland has also impact on the whole agriculture, because we cannot get, due to the blockade of the Polish logistic companies, the border of Ukraine. We cannot get, for example, the needed inputs or medicine or something like that, veterinary instruments that increase our costs again. We cannot export easily because of that blockade again, and because of 5 countries in the European Union, they don't like to have our products in European Union. So there are a lot of problems right now, which actually caused by unfortunately our partners, and we do believe that some of them can be easily solved. also with Poland, for example, to create a kind of grain chain to Gdansk, or we can actually more develop the infrastructure in Romania to bring more grains from Ukraine to Romania, and to decrease the insurance costs for many Ukrainian logistic companies. So I think they are instruments, but unfortunately, I do see less willingness to change the situation.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it yesterday. It's a challenge for Ukraine. It's a challenge for Europe. It's a challenge for the world. Both in the short term and the long term, in terms of the food and agriculture system that we want, and how we deal with these challenges and indeed others. Maybe come back to that in a moment or two, Alex. But we've talked about some of the challenges that Ukraine is facing in the short term, in addition to working together to solve some of these blockages. What else do you think Ukraine farmers are going to need in the next 1 to 2 years, as hopefully we come out of a conflict situation, and we begin to take the steps that we need on the road to recovery?
Yeah, I think what Ukrainian agriculture needs right now, and will need in the future. The list is huge, but let's start with financial resources. They are unfortunately not available for working capital, but even also for their capex, because over the last 2 years, Ukrainian farmers have not invested in capex, especially in agriculture machinery and equipment. Just one number: before the war, Ukrainians have purchased the equipment for about 10,000 pieces per year. Right now, only about 1,700 pieces a year. So that's 5 times less than before the war. That means that will affect the technology, that will affect their productivity and yields of the next years. The money is just not available for the capex, like for 3 or 5 years, and more or less predictable interest rates. The second biggest problem is and will be the human capital. So we need to change our technology, because we don't have any kind of human capital right now, especially male. They are not available because they are fighting, or they are just not available in some regions. So we need to adjust over the next years also the technology. We need to be more progressive. We need to be more modern in terms of using our inputs. Yeah, the third problem is, of course, the logistics, and we have to find, not only today but also for the long-term perspective, we need to find the solutions for logistics. And the fourth problem is that our export possibility to the European Union. As you know, in May of next year, European Union probably will prolong, but probably will not prolong the free trade agreement with Ukraine, and that's a question, because Ukrainian government is looking right now for projects, for value-added projects in agriculture, just to increase their production of different types of processed industries. But in the same time, if we have no chance to prolong the agreement with European Union for the next years, where we will be able to export our products to Europe, then it doesn't make any sense to invest right now in a value-added processing industry. And that I think Ukraine politically needs a clear message from European Union: when will we become the member of the European Union? Will be at 2028? 2030, because unclear messages, not clear situation with free trade does not help us, not only the farmers but also agriculture in general, to be more progressive, to think about the future, to think about the perspectives, and to start to invest in some new projects. What is clear that Ukraine needs right now.
Yeah, I mean, we touched on it yesterday, Alex. Your perspective on this would be, highly valuable. I mean, you've talked there about the immediate short-term challenges, the need for a long-term signal of the direction that Ukraine is heading in. Let's speculate and say that is towards membership of the European Union. That is indeed fulfilled. how will Ukraine agriculture need to adapt in order to integrate with certainly some of the policies, indeed perhaps help shape some of the policies on the future of agriculture? So that's one question, Alex, and I suppose within that then is what does sustainability mean to Ukraine agriculture, to Ukrainian farmers?
Yeah, they are very good questions, by the way. But as I said before, we have unfortunately no money right now. If we wanted to get new money for new projects, we need to go somewhere abroad and try to find that money. So my company, IMC, has received a loan from European Bank of Reconstruction and Development in 2023, even during the war. But we have discussed it many times, and we have actually a loan for 5 years with good conditions. At the same time, they were first time in the history of my life, there were, beside all the financial issues, there were environmental covenants in the loan agreement. That means that my company has to improve sustainability, that we have to improve our technology to the European standards. We have to decrease carbons, CO2 emissions. We have to change the technology in terms of soil erosions, etc., etc. So that means that we have already some benchmarks projects like my company does in Ukraine, where we show to everybody that is possible. So yeah, that is risky for everybody, because if I will not fulfill all the requirements of the deal, then it will cost me additionally 2% of the interest rates. But at the same time, I'm sure that we will manage to fulfill all the requirements, and we show to everybody in Ukrainian agriculture that is possible. So if we wanted to get new loan from European Bank of Reconstruction and Development or European Investment Bank, or I don't know which one institution, that is more or less clear. There will be special issues which we will actually accept. We will accept it. And the second issue is in terms of sustainability, also ESG standards. The ESG standards will be needed for every one company who is listed. My company is listed in Warsaw Stock Exchange, so from 2024 we will be publishing audited. Independently audited ESG report, which is quite difficult one, but we will also make a benchmark to everybody that is possible. So I think a lot of discussions about the European Green Deal, about European standards for agriculture, how dangerous it could be in terms of using of pesticides, etc., etc. So I think there are a lot of discussions. It's like yesterday somebody said we are concerned about Ukrainian agriculture. Everybody in Ukraine is also concerned about European Green Deal, but at the same time, we will show that we can adjust our technology, we can be sustainable. It will cost money. We need to change. Our strategy, but definitely there will be not only my company. There will be few companies more over next years which will actually take into account such issues like carbon farming, like sustainability, like standards on doing agribusiness, etc.
And I think, Alex, I mean, again, we talked about it yesterday on other occasions as well. This is also about a shared effort, not just from Ukraine or indeed from the European Union, but to shape the food and agriculture system that we want, the policies that go around it, the responsibilities of the value chain, of the financial intermediaries, to make sure that we have the support in place that enable agriculture and food in Europe, and I include Ukraine in that, to be sustainable from an economic, environmental, and indeed a social perspective. My question back to you is if we step out even of Ukraine, even of Europe, I mean, how important is it that we get this right for Europe and indeed the world, achieving this sustainability, this improved sustainability in food and agriculture?
It's absolutely necessary. I think we cannot live and work in agriculture like we have done before. And I mean the standards of for agriculture, they are in Europe a little bit higher than somewhere else, but at the same time, sustainability is a key issue for that for being prosperous and for being successful in everyone's business, including agriculture. So I do not see any other opportunity to be good in our business, to make good products, to sell that good quality products to the people, if we do not do that in a sustainable way. So for me, it's a key for success in agriculture in the future. And we have to accept it. We have to learn something new, at a kind of painful, definitely, to change ourselves, to be prepared for big changes in the future. But there are not many options if we wanted to be successful, if we wanted to get financial resources from the banks in Europe somewhere, if we wanted to sell products around the world. So we have to think in that way, that sustainability is a key issue for our business.
As we kind of come to the end of our discussion this morning, Alex, has been fascinating. I mean, the situation that you and your company, that Ukraine has experienced over the past couple of years has been unprecedented. I wonder if you kind of might just share a few reflections of your personal experience over the last 2 years. And then if we can try and project forward and hope for better times, what are your hopes and aspirations, but both for Ukraine in general and agriculture in particular?
Yeah, it's not easy to explain how I personally spent my 2 last years, because like the war started and I woke up in the capital of Ukraine, in Kiev, and I was prepared for the war. So I say that probably will something happening, but you cannot be prepared for that war like it started. I was shocked, and 80% of my business were located in the north of Ukraine, was occupied during the first week, and then the first period of war was for me the crucial question to answer: all my people are still alive or not? And I have more than 2,000 workers in my company, including silos facilities, including logistic companies, etc. And after the first shock and after the occupation of the North Ukraine, the second issue for us was actually how can we bring 1 million ton grains from the country out, because we were completely out of the international market. And it has taken 6 months that we have started to sell something. So we haven't had actually any kind of additional financial resources for the 6 months period. But finally, we started to sell, and the third period of time for us was how can we live under the war in the region, which is practically everyday bombs, and 30% of our land was mined. We've started immediately with demining procedures. So I've learned what kind of mines exist. I've never done it before in my life, but I've learned that. And what I've learned, another one thing, that the people in Ukraine, doesn't matter what they do, agriculture, education, or they are fighting on the front line, they do believe in the victory. They do believe that everybody should do something, doesn't matter where we are, for that big victory. And my team works every day in absolutely impossible conditions in the North Ukraine, with minefields. We have had 2 explosions of our tractors, some of the infrastructure destroyed. Our dairy industry, we have had a big dairy farm with 1,000 cows on a close to border with Belarus, completely destroyed and animal killed. We have survived our last 2 years. We have learned a lot how can we be adjustable to the new reality. And I think that for the future, exactly our readiness to be ready for adjustments, for changes that will help us also to survive next years. I don't know when the war will end, but I'm pretty sure that we will win the war. I'm pretty sure that we will survive. I'm pretty sure that the companies which have learned over the last 2 years be robust. They will also be robust over the next years, and we will start new projects. We invest right now with limited resources, invest in logistics, we invest actually in the processing, and do plan about our time after. Because without strategy, without understanding what's going to happen over the next 5 years, it will be very difficult to explain the team to the people we work in rural areas, actually that we are good and we will be even better, but we need to survive such difficult times we have right now. And I think that I do see in the faces of my team, and I'm right now sitting in a small town, Nizhyn, in the North Ukraine, and I do look on the eyes of my people. They believe, they have no doubts. We win, the company will survive. We work just to get that victory sooner.
Alex, thank you so much for sharing those personal reflections, which are obviously so grounded in your reality today, but also projecting that onto the future. It has always been a great pleasure to talk with you, Alex. No more so than today. Greatly enjoyed the roundtable that we did yesterday with colleagues in Brussels. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today. Much appreciated, Alex.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much for organizing that event yesterday and for podcast today. Thank you very much. I do appreciate it very much. And I do appreciate actually the support of all Europeans, and especially you institution. You do support Ukraine so much. We are so thankful to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. You've been listening to another edition of the Food Systems Podcast today with the president of the Ukrainian Agribusiness Club and chief executive of IMC, Alex Lissitsa. Thanks very much indeed for listening. Join us again next time.